Wilt Chamberlain dominated the NBA from the moment he touched the court.
Keeps the pressure on. Wilt rebounds for a fast break. Chamberlain scores.
Sam Jones. Good block by Chamberlain.
His superhuman feats like scoring 100 points or ripping down 55 rebounds in a single game proved that Wilt was different from everyone else. It seemed impossible that anyone would ever dethrone him as the greatest of all time. That is until
Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina.
In the decades that have passed since Wilt's retirement, evolution had taken place. A charismatic young guard named Michael Jordan burst onto the scene, defying gravity, breaking the mold, and turning the NBA into a global phenomenon. His ability on the court set a new standard for greatness. And before his career was even over, fans, players, and even MJ himself were calling him the new GOAT.
Are you the best to ever play this game?
I like to think that I was the best. When I leave this game, I like to think that I was the best I ever played in the 15 years that I played.
But for Wilt Chamberlain, that was all delusion.
Wilt against Michael, my prime and his prime, how much money would you be willing to bet?
In fact, in 1997, at the NBA's 50 Greatest Players of All Time ceremony, Wilt approached MJ. And what he said about the league, their individual careers, and what really makes a person the greatest of all time, left Michael Jordan speechless. But before we reveal the true story of Wilt and Jordan's epic encounter, a word from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest way to play fantasy sports, not just basketball. You can make picks on baseball, football, hockey, UFC, and more. It's simple. Just pick whether you think your favorite player's stats will be higher or lower, and you can make big money. You can make your own entry with as few as 2 picks and 3 extra money, or go bigger and win up to 100x. Underdog Pick'em games are available in 30 plus states, including California, Florida, Texas, and even Canada. Here are my picks for this weekend's marquee NBA matchups. Taking a slight risk here with the lower on 6 assists for Draymond Green, picking the lower on 23.5 points for Devin Vassell, and I've got Jeremy Shohan going lower on 2.5 first quarter points. Throw $100 at it, and if I get all my picks right, I'll have a max possible payout of $600. Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com or via the App Store with promo code Henry100. You can also click the link down in the description, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Henry100. Underdog Fantasy is giving new customers a special pick. All Jason Tatum has to do is score 1 point for you to win. This is the easiest way to make money on Underdog. So sign up with promo code Henry100 today and take advantage and win some money. It's All-Star Weekend in 1997. The league has gathered 50 of the NBA's greatest players ever to celebrate their 50th anniversary. Everyone who's anyone is there. Magic, Bird, Jordan, and many more. Players are signing each other's jerseys, taking photographs, and sharing stories like old pals. But Bill Walton notices something off.
Over in the corner is Wilt and Michael Jordan. And they're sitting at a table arguing vociferously as to who the greatest player of all time was.
2 of the NBA's biggest stars ever are losing their minds. How did this argument even start? Did Wilt say something to get under Michael's skin?
He's 6'7" and he's like 197 pounds. Coming into what we call our domain, the pivot for us big guys. Would not have been very wise of Michael, if he was playing during our time. So we would say, Michael, as long as you do all those fancy things outside of where we are, that's fine. So it wouldn't have been good for Michael.
Yeah, Wilt 100% started it. But I'm sure Wilt was just educating Jordan on his individual success. Like how Jordan and the NBA had forgotten everything that makes him the GOAT in the first place. And to be honest, we have forgotten.
We do not acknowledge Wilt Chamberlain. We have forgot about him. And he's one of the most athletic players who's ever played the game. He led the league in assists. He led the league in field goal percentage, led the league in block shots. Whatever you wanted him to do, he was going to do.
85-81. Chamberlain gets away from Bowman.
Unbelievable shot, Pete.
Wilt was a physical specimen that the NBA had never seen before. At 7'1", 270 pounds, Wilt had the strength of a center and the agility of a guard.
Shaquille didn't have quite the same athleticism that Wilt had. He had the bounce and he had the speed, but he didn't have the endurance.
On defense, Wilt would block shots and rebound like a beast, and then outrun the entire arena for a jump shot, layup, or dunk on the offensive side. And he did this all game long. During his debut year, he made history by averaging 37 points and 27 rebounds per game. He won the Rookie of the Year award, MVP, and All-Star Game MVP. But his prime had only just begun. For the next 13 years, Wilt terrorized the league. He once scored 100 points in a single game, averaged 50 and 25 for an entire season, and in 1962, averaged 48.5 minutes per game, which, if you didn't know, is every minute of every game, including overtime, for the whole year. His stats look like video game numbers. And they don't even really do him justice because the league didn't keep track of blocks or steals until after he retired. Even in 2024, Wilt's name is plastered all over the NBA record books. But the stats and records Wilt was most proud of was not actually his scoring and rebounding titles. It was his assists and efficiency. In today's game, we may see big men like Jokic throwing dimes. But back in the day, a center wasn't really relied on for their passing abilities. Wilt Chamberlain set out to change that.
Averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds. And then people said that he was selfish. So you know what he did? Went back and led the league in assists.
Not only did he lead the league in assists, he set a record for most assists per game by a center with 8.6, a record that stood until 2022. And when it comes to efficiency, Wilt had something for Jordan to consider.
So when they compare me with Michael's averaging 31 points for his lifetime. I averaged about 30 points for a lifetime. That all the years while I was usually scoring all those points, I was leading the league in percentile shooting. And that's also important because if you take all the shots, then you should be making the highest percentage. I mean, there are guys like Charles Barkley who shoot 54, 55%. If he shot as much as Michael, he'd be scoring more points.
And that's probably when Michael Jordan had heard enough. Comparing him to Charles Barkley
became personal with me.
You can imagine Jordan saying, if you're so great and so dominant, where's all your championship rings? The NBA playoffs were like Wilt's kryptonite, and it's where Jordan, being the actual greatest of all time, really starts to make sense.
Wilt wasn't clutch. In big moments in like Game 7, when you needed him to score, he would pass. If you needed him to pass, he would score. He was that kind of player. Michael Jordan is like Wilt Chamberlain plus Bill Russell. He put up better numbers than anyone, and the advanced metrics, Joel Embiid, all say it, by the way. Higher PER than Wilt and all that kind of stuff. And he won championships like he's Bill Russell.
In spite of Wilt's statistical accomplishments in the regular season, he only won 2 championships. And his non-winning playoff records against Bill Russell and Willis Reed were the result of multiple subpar performances when his team needed him the most. He only led the playoffs in points per game once, and he still ended up losing in 5 games to the Celtics that year. Not to mention, Wilt holds the NBA record for most missed free throws. Wilt shot 47% from the line in the playoffs and 38% from the line in the NBA Finals. Imagine having your quote-unquote best player at the line 5 to 10 times a game and he can't hit half his free throws. That's not greatness. Michael Jordan, on the other hand, dominated when the pressure was on. Whether it was in the dying seconds of a mid-season game or steering his team through a hard-fought playoff series, MJ always delivered. Case in point, Michael's 1989 performance against the Milwaukee Bucks. He scored 50 points to beat the Bucks 117-116 and scored 27 of those 50 points in the fourth quarter alone, including the game winner. If that isn't clutch enough for you, how about Jordan's unbelievable 6-game run in the 1993 NBA Finals? MJ scored 40 or more points in 4 straight games against the Phoenix Suns. He scored 42 in Game 2, 44 in Game 3, 55 in Game 4, 41 in Game 5, and then had 33 in Game 6 to solidify the Bulls' 3rd straight championship. Throughout his career, MJ averaged 33 points throughout the postseason. He had a 50% success rate in the clutch.
Jazz over the foul limit. We're down to 5. Jordan putting moves on Russell. We're down to 2. Now to 1. Here's Jordan. Yes!
And when it came down to the final seconds in the game, and you could choose anyone in NBA history to take the shot, you wanted the ball in Michael Jordan's hands.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan.
Now, I know how Wilt Chamberlain responded to this because he had heard this critique his whole career. Championships make you the GOAT, right?
I have a friend of mine who I talk to about once a week. You know what he says about Michael's 4 championships? Mm-hmm. He doesn't say anything about it. Because he has 11.
So the argument raged on.
Michael and Wilt are still going at it at this table over here. And so David finally says, come on, Wilt, Michael, we got to get going. And so they stand up. The conversation ends.
But Wilt Chamberlain is never one to back down. And what he said next left Michael Jordan speechless.
Wilt, who always has the last word in everything, Wilt looked down at Michael and said, Michael, just remember, when you played, they changed all the rules to make it easier for you to dominate. When I played, they changed all the rules to make it harder for me.
What Wilt was referring to was back in 1964, when he was in his prime, the NBA had to change several rules in an attempt to level the playing field. These rule changes included widening the lane from 12 to 16 feet, forcing Wilt further away from the basket, banning inbound passes over the backboard, which Wilt would score on for easy extra points, adding offensive goaltending, so no more putback dunks, and requiring free throw shooters to remain behind the line, which was because Chamberlain would literally leap from the foul line and deposit the ball in the basket. Meanwhile, some of the narrative around the NBA in the 90s was that Jordan was David Stern's golden child, and that the commissioner did everything he could to help MJ win.
Y'all changed all the rules so he can win. These are the facts. I go down the lane, I get my ass beat. You see pictures of Michael Cooper scratching Larry Bird's jersey off. Kevin McHale slamming Kurt Rambis to the floor. You see Dr. J fine on Bird, right? Everybody getting hit. Oh, but he can't get hit? Yeah. So we're gonna change all the rules so he can dunk.
Apparently, Michael Jordan, the quick-witted, trash-talking GOAT, had nothing to say.
No retort, no comeback. Wilt Chamberlain, oh my gosh.
Now, I don't totally agree with Wilt Chamberlain. MJ played in the 1980s with the physicality of the older generations, and he still led the league in scoring, steals, and minutes played. But I think Wilt Chamberlain just wanted recognition that night.
Being with the best in that particular way and being appreciated as such is a total honor.
And the same with Michael. Air Jordan was single-handedly carrying the league. He was the face of a growing global sport. He helped usher in the NBA from Magic vs. Bird show to a dynamic cast of new superstars, including Kobe, Shaq, and LeBron. I think what actually happened that night is that both legends walked away with something to think about. Jordan never called himself the greatest on TV again, and when asked about the GOAT title, he instead told reporters to judge by eras.
Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever.
False.
Why?
Because I didn't play against, all the great players prior to me, and I had those other players to influence my game. I mean, that's all.
We play in different eras. He's an unbelievable player. Yeah, he's one of the best players in the world.
And old man Wilt Chamberlain started to appreciate the greatness of Michael Jordan.
If you want to say Michael's the greatest, I think he deserves all the accolades that you really want. I think the man has done more for basketball than any one individual. Even you. Any one individual.
But what do you think? Can you believe that Michael Jordan actually didn't have a comeback? Can you compare players from different eras? And for all the people ready to debate, let me know in the comments who you truly think is the greatest NBA player of all time.